Hi, everybody. Welcome to Cash and Courage. Today's awesome episode number 10, where today I am going to be discussing Evil X number 2. Last week, if you're watching this, awesome. Like, I love when you watch the videos. Go back and watch last week's episode because we talked about Evil X number 1, and I actually talked about the other two, but I want to talk more in depth about Evil X number 2 today. Now that fits in. If you follow I should say these episodes each week, you're noticing that there's a half of the Cash and Courage team missing today. That's because Debbie is traveling and could not make it. So it's just me today. You only get Joe for probably not as long as when we're both together, because as Debbie would say, she likes to talk. So anyways, let's get rolling and let's talk about Evil X number 2. So last week, again, like I said, go back and watch last week's because we talked about expectations, right? Expectations are Evil X number 1. And yeah, I can't explain it any better than how we explained it last week and talked about it. But expectations are really bad. Like, they cause a lot of problems within ourselves, within our how we interact with money, how we interact with other people in those relationships. Oh, hold on, Jusser. Ow. And you guys get to see live here that my dog here he's supposed to be on the podcast today, but or the thing, stop. But he's it's just a mess, right? Sorry. You too can be an entrepreneur and live stream on Facebook. So where was I? Lost my train of thought now. Okay, so last week, again, we talked about expectations and like what they do to us and all that fun stuff. So this week and last week I said, we're going to talk about the other two unless someone asks for something specific. Sometimes people do, most of the time they don't. So Debbie and I come with what we want, what we're hearing people talk about, and I think continuing down this path is really good, right? So today we're going to talk about, again, Evil X number 2, which are excuses. So, yeah, I could just leave it there. Excuses. There you go. Have fun, right? And then next week, we're going to do Evil X number 3, which is explanations, because explanations are also another thing that prevents us from getting what we want, right? So today, excuses. So really the key factors here to think about, right? I always start with expectations because we have so many expectations on ourselves. We don't usually see what they are, okay? But excuses are the same thing. Like, think about it just for a moment as I'm talking here. Sit back and think about, where at in your life are you making excuses, right? Now, excuses are different than explanations, and I'll talk a little bit about the difference between the two. But really, it's modeled to us from a very young age, right? Because we as humans do it all the time. We're taught about, if I guess in the guise of, well, let's just like take the guise of nobody wanting to hurt anybody's feelings here, but that's not really what I do. But think about it from growing up as a child. You see people making excuses, and hey Melissa. But from a child's perspective, we see people all around us, adults, right? Because we learn everything from adults, making excuses for one another, like why somebody didn't do something, or why didn't it go to some family function, right? I bet you have all kinds of different experiences growing up, thinking about, hey, what did somebody excuse, like the behavior of somebody else? Or you see parents do all the time for children. Oh, they just didn't know better. They got behavioral problems, whatever the thing is, but there's excuses coming up, right, about why people behave the way they do, right? And I'm not going to call it right, wrong, indifferent, right? We'll talk about that in a second. But what I want you to do, just think of those moments, because we do it all the time, right? I'm aware of this, and sometimes I catch myself, I'm like, whoa, stop for a second. Why am I, coming up with this excuse for why someone did? Now, I like to play, that's different, right? I just want to hold on for a second. That's different than playing like a little game of, what do you think is going on with the person? I love playing that game. Debbie and I play that all the time because it starts to get me thinking in the way people act and interact with other people. All right, so think about that way a little bit. But overall, think about what you've seen, right? Because it's always easier for us to see behavior in ourselves when we can see that behavior modeled outside of us. Right? So I always tell people, hey, Find situations where you see this happening, right? Where you see the excuses. And I know in my life, most of it comes up in like family interactions. People are very close because you see them. You know what the real story is behind, right? So let's kind of deconstruct it, but because you know what the real story is. But then you hear what they say to somebody else to get out of something, or to talk about somebody's behavior, or things like that. But you know what the real story is. And you'd be like, wait a minute, what? Like, it doesn't make sense to us. We're like, why don't we just tell the truth? Listen, I didn't want to go to that. I didn't want to do that. But instead, we make an excuse, right? Because we have to justify it of why we're choosing our behavior over what somebody else wanted of us, right? That's the biggest thing about excuses, is we're justifying our behavior in the moment, in our verbal communication, so that we don't have to do what's, see, here we go, what's expected, or what we think up here is expected of us. See, so they all kind of work together. So whether the three evil X's are all together, all three of them, because what we have here is a behavior in ourselves is trying to, well, uphold in ourselves, right? We're trying to uphold this behavior we think is what they want. When in reality, what really happens is we have really bad boundaries and we can't tell people no. Or we don't feel like we can tell them the truth because it's going to hurt their feelings. Now, telling someone the truth and just telling them what you think are two different things. Okay, I just want to be clear on that one, because we can tell people still the truth in a way that's not going to be destructive to the relationship, versus telling them what we think, which is usually destructive to the relationship. Anyways, so excuses, right? So now you've thought back there and thought, okay, so how have I seen this modeled, right? So I want to take a moment and just have you reflect on, how are you leaning into excuses in your life, right? Let's start with your business. What aren't you doing or excusing away for what action you're taking or not taking in your business, right? What action are you taking or not taking with other relationships in your life, right? Are you creating excuses when you want to get out of stuff? Are you creating excuses when you're trying to justify behavior of somebody? Right? My last one, though, I always like this one. What excuses are you making about why the money's not there? Right? Why isn't this stuff showing up? Because you're making excuses. Oh, it's okay because blah, 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 I didn't work harder, blah, 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 blah. That's very generic, I know. But with money, it's like we make excuses all the time. We're like, oh, well, this one sale just fell through because blah, 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 right? We're starting to make excuses for our clients and not opting into them, right? So I want you to be conscious up here about where we're making excuses for ourselves or for other people. Because at the end of the day, what's going on is we're one, if we're making it for ourselves, we're justifying a behavior which is out of alignment with us. We want to stop that. Because if you allow that behavior and the energy to stay with you, it's going to cause problems later on. The reverse of that too, I also want you to watch to see who you're making excuses for and why. Because no matter what, the excuse is not really good for your alignment of yourself, with your vision, with what you're trying to do. Talk about alignment a lot. Alignment's like anything. You go to the chiropractor, you get your spine aligned, right? It feels better. The best example I like, alignment of the car tires, right? Otherwise, what happens is your steering wheel's like all over the place before your wheels turn, right? You want to be in alignment with you and what your goals are. You want to have alignment with your values. So find out, ask yourself, if you have to journal, do some journaling to be like, why am I behaving like this? What excuses am I making? What behaviors am I justifying? Because there's going to be some reasoning behind that as to why you're doing it. And I'm going to challenge you to stop that behavior. Because I know right now it's impacting your money in your business. It's impacting money in your life. It's impacting relationships between you and other people. But more importantly, it's affecting the relationship that you have with yourself, right? So think about it. Journal. and stop doing it. Like, really. But we got to know, we're humans. We want to know why we do things most of the time, right? Especially people who are a little more high performers and just like in there to win it. So watch for that, see what it is, and then change the behavior. And I can guarantee that as you start to do that, you're going to have better boundaries with people, right? As we have better boundaries, then we start seeing our relationships thrive, and through relationships, we earn more money. So that's the tip for today. Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching this. Next week, Debbie will be back, and we're going to talk about Evil X number 3, guaranteed, because we've done the first 2. So why not follow up with the third one, explanations? So finish it out. So if you have any questions, as always, drop them in the comments below. Thanks for joining me live, those who did, and for those watching the replay, drop your comments, your thoughts in here, and let us know also for future weeks what you want us to talk about, because, hey, we're open for what people want to hear, because there's a lot of information, as always. So, yeah, that's it. So thanks for joining me. It's not as long as always, but it's just me today, and again, not Debbie, so she'll be back next week. So thanks for all for joining, and we'll catch you later. Bye.